Welcome back to Footy Origins, the home of football's deep heritage. Forgotten to fully comprehend the scale of the tragedy that unfolded later, we must first travel back to the opening match of Group 2. The date is June 16th, 1982. The stage is the iconic El Molinón Stadium in the vibrant city of Gijón. On one side stood the mighty West Germans. They were the reigning champions of Europe, a ruthless football machine packed with seasoned world-class professionals. On the other side stood Algeria, making their very first appearance on the Grand World Cup stage. On paper, this was not a competitive fixture. It was an anticipated slaughter. The arrogance radiating from the West German camp leading up to the game was nothing short of staggering. They did not just expect to win. They openly ridiculed the capabilities of their North African opponents. One prominent West German player famously boasted to reporters that they would dedicate their 7th goal to their wives and their 8th goal to their dogs. Even their head coach, Jupterwall, joined in on the casual disrespect, declaring to the international media that if his team somehow managed to lose to Algeria, he would immediately jump on the very first train back to Munich. They viewed the Algerian national team not as a professional sporting rival, but as a minor warm-up exercise. But football has a beautiful habit of punishing arrogance. When the whistle blew, the West Germans did not find a timid team of debutantes. They found a tactically brilliant, lightning-fast squad known as the Desert Warriors. Algeria played with an absolute lack of fear, utilizing sophisticated, short-passing combinations that completely paralyzed the German midfield. In the 54th minute, the unthinkable happened. A furious Algerian counterattack tore through the German defense. Rabah Madjer pounced on a rebounded shot and smashed it into the back of the net. Algeria 1, West Germany 0. The European champions were shocked into a state of panic. They fought back desperately, and in the 67th minute, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge managed to slide in an equalizer. The German narrative was supposed to resume, but Algeria didn't read the script. Barely 60 seconds later, straight from the restart, the Algerians put together a breathtaking 9-pass team move. Lakhdar Belloumi arrived perfectly in the penalty area to bury a low cross past Harold Schumacher. Algeria held on to secure a monumental 2-1 historic victory. It was hailed instantly as the greatest World Cup upset since North Korea defeated Italy in 1966. Algeria had become the first ever African nation to defeat a European powerhouse at a World Cup finals. They had proved their worth to the entire world on merit alone. This historic triumph put Algeria on the absolute precipice of qualification for the second round. However, the tournament structure of 1982 harbored a critical flaw. Algeria played their third and final group match against Chile on June 24th. Walking away with a thrilling 3-2 victory. This made them the first African team to ever win 2 matches at a single World Cup. But their work was done, and they were forced into an agonizing, high-stakes waiting game. Because of a massive scheduling oversight by FIFA, the final match of the group between West Germany and Austria was scheduled to take place the very next day, on June 25th. Algeria had laid all their cards on the table. Their European rivals now knew exactly what they needed to do to survive. Let us break down the cold, calculated mathematics of what happened next. Going into that final game on June 25th, Austria sat at the top of the group with 4 points and a highly favorable goal difference of +3. Algeria also had 4 points, but with a goal difference of 0 having completed all 3 of their games. West Germany sat in 3rd place with just 2 points, but possessed a goal difference of +2. Under the rules of 1982, where a win was worth 2 points, the loophole in the system created an incredibly toxic incentive. Because West Germany and Austria were taking the pitch 24 hours after Algeria, they possessed perfect mathematical foresight. If Austria won or drew the match, West Germany, one of the absolute pre-tournament favorites, would be completely eliminated from the World Cup. If West Germany went completely ruthless and won the match by 3 goals or more, they would advance, but they would crush their neighbors Austria, sending them home instead. However, there was a highly specific, narrow window of mutual benefit. If West Germany managed to win the match by exactly 1 or 2 goals, a fascinating mathematical anomaly would occur. West Germany and Austria would finish tied with Algeria on 4 points, but both European nations would advance to the second round based entirely on superior goal difference. Algeria would be ruthlessly eliminated without ever kicking a ball. A 1-0 or 2-0 German victory was the exact mathematical intersection of mutual survival. When the match commenced, it initially looked like a genuine, high-stakes football game. The West Germans pushed forward with immense intensity, desperate to secure the early lead they required. The breakthrough arrived fast. In the 10th minute, a brilliant cross from the left wing found the powerful West German forward Horst Hrubesch. He lunged forward, deflected the ball into the Austrian net, and put West Germany up 1-0. At 1-0, the exact mathematical requirement for mutual qualification had been perfectly fulfilled, and right then, the match of football ceased to exist. What followed for the remaining 80 minutes remains an absolute stain on the history of international sport. The competitive integrity of the World Cup was discarded in real time. The visual evidence of what transpired next is completely undeniable. Players from both sides began operating in complete, unspoken concert. The intensity dropped to absolute zero. For the next 80 minutes, there was not a single genuine shot on target from either side. Players walked casually across the pitch. They passed the ball sideways and backwards continuously, occasionally launching long, aimless balls deep into the opposing goalkeeper's arms. Whenever an isolated player, unaware of the unspoken arrangement, attempted to launch a genuine attack, he was visibly shouted down and restrained by his own teammates. The official match statistics would later reveal that Austria maintained an astronomical, near-perfect passing completion rate in their own half, because absolutely no German player made even a symbolic gesture to press or tackle them. It was an elegant, bloodless non-aggression pact played out in front of 40,000 paying spectators and millions of horrified television viewers worldwide. The crowd inside the El Molinón Stadium recognized exactly what was happening, and their fury was explosive. The Spanish spectators, deeply insulted by the absolute lack of effort, began waving white handkerchiefs, a traditional gesture used in bullfighting to demand the removal of a cowardly bull or performer. The stadium erupted with deafening chants of fuera, fuera, meaning out, demanding that both teams be thrown off the pitch. In a beautiful show of sporting solidarity, the local Spanish fans began chanting Argelia, Argelia, throwing their full emotional support behind the wronged African team. The Algerian supporters who had traveled to Spain to watch their heroes create history could only watch in absolute agony. Overcome with a mixture of grief and pure rage, they crowded the railings, waving banknotes directly at the players on the field. It was a powerful, symbolic accusation flashing across global television. They were telling the world that this match had been bought and sold, traded away behind closed doors to preserve the traditional hierarchy of European football. The fury wasn't confined to neutrals or victims. A prominent West German fan in the stands was so thoroughly overcome with shame by his own nation's conduct that he publicly produced a lighter and incinerated his own German flag in protest. As the farcical match ground on, the international television commentators tasked with describing the game began experiencing severe crises of professional conscience. They refused to play along with the charade. Eberhard Stanjek, commentating for the West German network ARD, sounded completely broken and close to tears on air. He openly declared to millions of households in Germany, "What is happening here is disgraceful and has absolutely nothing to do with football. You can say what you want, but not every end justifies every single means." At one point, overwhelmed by disgust, Stanjek fell completely silent, flatly refusing to provide any further play-by-play commentary for long stretches of the match. Meanwhile, in neighboring Austria, the broadcast took an even more radical turn. Robert Seeger, the legendary play-by-play announcer for Austrian television, was so deeply repulsed by his own national team's complicity that he issued an extraordinary statement to his viewers at home. He openly apologized for the spectacle and bluntly instructed his audience to turn off their television sets or switch to another channel. For the final 30 minutes of the broadcast, Seeger turned off his microphone entirely, refusing to speak a single word, leaving the match to play out in a chilling, silent void. The next morning, the media backlash across the European continent was unrelenting. A local Spanish newspaper in Gijón, El Comercio, expressed its absolute contempt for the match by taking a historic editorial stance. They refused to print the match report in their sports section, publishing it instead directly inside their crimes and police gazette section. The match was universally branded as a sporting felony, an open conspiracy committed in broad daylight. In the immediate wake of the scandal, the Algerian Football Federation launched an aggressive, highly sophisticated counteroffensive. They refused to quietly pack their bags and accept their fate. They compiled a detailed dossier of evidence, outlining the blatant lack of sporting intent, and submitted an official, urgent complaint to football's highest governing body, FIFA. They demanded that the fraudulent result be completely annulled, or that both West Germany and Austria face immediate disqualification from the tournament for bringing the beautiful game into severe disrepute. The entire sporting world watched Zurich, waiting to see if institutional justice would prevail. But the corridors of football power rarely prioritize morality over bureaucracy. After a tense, closed-door meeting that lasted over 3 hours, FIFA delivered a crushing blow to the global sporting community. They officially rejected Algeria's complaint in its entirety. FIFA's justification was cold, rigid, and completely devoid of spirit. They ruled that while the match was undeniably distasteful, technically, no written rules have been broken. There was no explicit clause in the FIFA handbook that made playing with a lack of aggression or passing backward illegal. The match referee, Scotland's Bob Valentine, later stated that his hands were completely tied. Every single action on the field was technically correct within the literal laws of the game, even if it was profoundly shameful. The 1-0 result stood. Algeria was officially out. West Germany and Austria advanced. This decision exposed a massive, deep-seated institutional failure within FIFA's tournament design. The governing body had essentially built a system that actively permitted collusion. By allowing group matches to be staggered across different days, they had created an environment where teams could mathematically engineer outcomes to suit their mutual survival. It was a systemic loophole that prioritized broadcast convenience over fundamental sporting integrity. By refusing to intervene in the short term, FIFA inadvertently triggered an existential crisis for the future of the World Cup. The disgrace of Gijón threatened the very commercial and athletic foundation of international football. If matches could be openly engineered, if fans could no longer trust that the competition on the field was genuine, the entire economic model of the sport would collapse. Television networks would refuse to pay massive broadcast fees for scripted theater. Sponsors would withdraw their capital to protect their brand reputations, and fans would stop buying tickets. The beautiful game was facing a severe crisis of legitimacy. FIFA realized that while they couldn't retroactively fix the injustice inflicted upon Algeria, they had to radically re-engineer the rules of the game to save the World Cup from its own structural flaws. Change, however, is often written in the ink of injustice. The profound embarrassment of 1982 left an indelible mark that FIFA could not ignore. In 1984, the governing body officially enacted a sweeping, permanent amendment to its competitive framework. They mandated that moving forward, the final set of matches in every single group stage must be played simultaneously. No more staggered kickoffs. No more 24-hour mathematical advantages. Fast forward to modern tournaments, including the massive World Cup tournaments of the modern era. Today, the simultaneous final group match is the absolute cornerstone of fair competition and sporting drama. Think about the sheer, unadulterated madness of a modern final group stage match day. 2 games playing out across different cities at the exact same fraction of a second. A goal scored in Stadium A completely alters the fate of a team fighting for their lives in Stadium B. The live, Virtual group table updates every single minute. Managers are frantically checking tablets on the bench. Players are suddenly instructed to change their entire tactical approach mid-game, and fans are experiencing wild emotional swings as the balance of power shifts with every kick of the ball. This chaotic, thrilling spectacle, the most dramatic day of any modern tournament, exists because of Algeria's profound heartbreak in 1982. The trauma inflicted upon the Desert Warriors became the direct catalyst for the intense, transparent drama we expect and cherish today. By closing that corrupt loophole, football transformed a moment of profound shame into an engine for pure, unscripted sporting theater. It ensured that no modern team can ever sit back and casually pass the ball around for 80 minutes, secure in the knowledge of a pre-calculated result. They must fight, they must compete, and they must earn qualification until the final whistle blows simultaneously across the world. Algeria went home in the summer of 1982, but they did not return defeated. They returned as martyrs for the integrity of the sport, cementing a legacy that would forever protect the competitive spirit of international football. History has completely forgotten the cynical, hollow advancement of West Germany and Austria in that tournament. Instead, history honors the team that played with dignity, courage, and true brilliance. The disgrace of Gijón remains a powerful, eternal warning. Whenever a sport sacrifices its core competitive soul for the sake of political or strategic convenience, everyone loses. But when we enforce transparency, the true beauty of football shines through. This is the very essence of why we trace these stories back to where they began. Every modern rule, every ounce of drama we witness today on the global stage was paid for by the heartbreak of the pioneers who came before us. Algeria's 1982 squad didn't get to lift the trophy, but they rewrote the laws of the game, ensuring that fair play would always have a fighting chance. Thank you for joining us on this journey back to the roots of football history here at Footy Origins.